Have you ever wondered why some people seem to cast a spell of both allure and devastation, drawing others into a vortex of emotional intensity, and then leaving them feeling drained and hollow? The answer doesn't lie in simple cruelty or a lack of empathy. It resides in a deeper, more tragic archetypal dance. It is the dance between the one who wears the mask of the sun god, the narcissist, and the one who embodies the moon's reflective depths, the empath. This is not a simple story of good versus evil, but a profound and often painful tale of two halves seeking a wholeness they can only find within themselves, yet tragically attempting to find it within the other. Imagine the narcissist forever caught in a desolate hall of mirrors. They are not looking at their true self, but at an idealized, inflated ego persona, a reflection constructed from a fragile scaffolding of external validation. This persona is a fortress built to protect a wounded, shamed shadow self that remains hidden in the dark recesses of their psyche. This unacknowledged shadow is a place of deep-seated inadequacy, a gnawing void that whispers of their fundamental unworthiness. Their entire life is a performance, a grand production designed to garner applause and adoration, because every clap, every word of praise is a brick in the wall of their false self, momentarily silencing the whispers from the shadow. They don't seek to connect with others. They seek to consume their admiration, their energy, their very essence as a fuel to power this elaborate facade. Their love, if you can call it that, is a transaction. They offer a glittering promise of grandeur in exchange for the very life force of another. They are not in a relationship with you. They are in a relationship with the reflected image of themselves they see in your eyes. And then there is the empath. They are the cartographer of the soul, the one who feels the tectonic shifts of others' emotions as if they were their own. They carry within them a profound attunement to the unseen currents of the collective unconscious, an almost psychic ability to perceive the unspoken pain, the hidden desires, and the unfulfilled longings of the world around them. This deep reservoir of feeling is both their greatest gift and their most dangerous vulnerability. For the empath, the world is a symphony of emotions, and their own self is often lost in the cacophony of others' feelings. They may have a deep, unfulfilled longing for a sense of purpose and belonging, a desire to mend the broken, to heal the wounded. Their deepest truth is that they are here to connect, to understand, and to love without condition. This makes them a moth to the narcissist's flame, a perfect source of the very fuel the narcissist's false self requires to survive. Do you see the tragic magnetism? The narcissist, hollow at their core, projects their idealized self outward, creating a dazzling spectacle. The empath, with their deep well of compassion, sees not the spectacle, but the deep wounded shadow lurking behind the mask. They believe they can heal this pain, that their boundless love and understanding can fill the void. They see a lost soul, not a predator. They commit to the shadow, while the narcissist only offers the persona. The narcissist, meanwhile, sees in the empath a limitless source of supply, a wellspring of validation that seems inexhaustible. It's a perfect storm of unmet psychological needs, a cosmic collision course between two souls, each seeking to fill a fundamental emptiness. The narcissist is desperately trying to find themselves in the reflection of others, while the empath is desperately trying to find themselves by losing themselves in the needs of another. This dynamic is not merely about interpersonal conflict. It is a profound archetypal struggle for individuation. The narcissist's journey of individuation is stalled, frozen in a state of arrested development, forever trying to become the god they pretend to be, and never accepting the flawed human they truly are. The empath's journey is often one of self-dissolution, losing their boundaries and their sense of self in a quixotic quest to save another. The relationship becomes a crucible, a stage where both are forced to confront the fundamental truths of their own being, the narcissist's terror of their own inadequacy, and the empath's fear of their own power. The tragic dance begins with a mesmerizing seduction. The narcissist, a master architect of illusion, builds a world around the empath that feels like a homecoming. They mirror the empath's deepest values, their most secret longings, and their unfulfilled dreams. They appear to be the soulmate who finally sees and understands them. This is the idealization phase, a cosmic mirror reflecting back to the empath. Everything they wish they were, and everything they wish to be loved for. The empath, starved for this kind of profound recognition, drinks it in. For the first time, perhaps, they feel truly seen, truly heard, and fundamentally understood. They believe they have found a kindred spirit, an oasis in a world that often feels emotionally barren. But this profound connection is a mirage. It is a projection, not an authentic bond. The narcissist isn't seeing the empath. They are seeing a perfect reflection of what they need to feel whole. The empath's adoration becomes a drug, a powerful sedative for the gnawing anxiety of the narcissist's fragile ego. As the empath pours more of their love, their energy, and their attention into the relationship, the narcissist's persona solidifies, its power increasing. The empath, in turn, feels a profound sense of purpose. They are finally giving their boundless love to someone who seems to truly need and appreciate it. They are fulfilling their archetypal role as the healer, the caregiver, the one who brings light to the dark places. The collective unconscious whispers to the empath that this is a noble quest, a sacred duty. Yet as the empath's inner world becomes increasingly entangled with the narcissist's, a slow, insidious erosion begins. The narcissist, needing to maintain their godlike image, cannot tolerate any hint of imperfection, whether in themselves or in their partner. The empath's natural needs, their boundaries, their very humanity, begin to be perceived as threats. A subtle criticism here, a dismissive comment there. This is the start of the devaluation phase. The mirror cracks. Suddenly, the very qualities the narcissist once idealized in the empath become the targets of their contempt. The empath's sensitivity is called weakness, their compassion, a naive foolishness. The narcissist begins to project their own shadow, their feelings of inadequacy and shame onto the empath, making them feel small, flawed, and unworthy. The empath, caught in this psychological trap, responds by trying even harder to please. They believe if they could just be better, just love more deeply, just understand more completely, they can bring back the idealized partner they first met. They are desperate to restore the beautiful illusion they fell in love with. This is where the profound damage occurs. The empath's sense of self, which was already permeable, now begins to dissolve completely. They start to internalize the narcissist's projections, believing that they are indeed flawed, too sensitive, and fundamentally unlovable. Their self-worth, once tied to their ability to feel and to heal, is now tethered to the narcissist's unpredictable approval. They are lost in a fog of confusion, gaslit into questioning their own reality and sanity. The very qualities that define them, their deep-seated empathy and compassion, are being weaponized against them, turning their greatest gift into their greatest source of pain. The empath's journey toward individuation, the process of becoming a unified and whole self, is hijacked and redirected into a desperate attempt to become someone else's idea of a perfect partner. They are no longer on a path to wholeness, but on a path of self-erasure. As the devaluation intensifies, a new and deeply complex dynamic emerges, one that seems to defy all logic and human reason: the trauma bond. This is not a bond of authentic love, but a psychological chain forged in the fires of intermittent reinforcement. The narcissist, after a period of intense criticism and coldness, will often cycle back to a moment of fleeting warmth, a flash of the ideal partner they once were. They might offer a small gesture of affection, a hollow apology, or a nostalgic whisper of their shared past. For the empath, this brief respite feels like a lifeline. It validates their hope that the original loving person still exists beneath the mask, and that their efforts to heal them are not in vain. This cycle of abuse, followed by what feels like affection, creates a potent and addictive cocktail of neurochemicals, flooding the brain with stress hormones and then with dopamine, locking the empath into a desperate physiological loop. They are not in love with the person in front of them, but with the memory of the idealization, a phantom of what they hope the relationship can be. This is the very essence of codependent attachment. The empath's sense of self-worth becomes entirely dependent on their ability to soothe and manage the narcissist's emotional landscape. They become a full-time emotional first responder, hypervigilant, and constantly on edge trying to predict the next storm. Their own needs, their own pain, and their own authentic feelings are pushed aside, deemed unimportant, in the face of the narcissist's insatiable demands. The empath's sacred journey of individuation, the process of becoming a whole and integrated individual, is completely sidetracked. They have, in a sense, sacrificed their own soul on the altar of the narcissist's ego. They are living a vicarious life, existing not for themselves, but for the desperate hope of saving another. The narcissist, meanwhile, is trapped in their own living hell. They are entirely dependent on this constant supply of attention and validation. Their greatest fear is being exposed as the hollow fraud they know deep down in their shadow they are. They are terrified of being truly seen. This fear drives their manipulative behaviors, their gaslighting, and their cruel devaluations. The empath's willingness to absorb their pain is a temporary balm, but it can never fill the void. This void is a chasm that can only be bridged by a profound act of self-confrontation and shadow work, a journey they are not yet prepared to take. They are forever running from their own deepest truth. So where is the escape from this labyrinth? It begins with a single brutal moment of clarity for the empath. It's a moment when the illusion can no longer be maintained, when the pattern becomes so obvious, so grotesque, that the empath is forced to confront it. It is not a moment of quiet insight, but a searing, painful recognition that the person they are trying to save does not exist. The loving partner was a reflection of their own goodness, a beautiful lie they desperately needed to believe. This is a profound psychic wound, the shattering of a core belief. But within this shattering lies the seeds of a profound rebirth. The path to freedom is not through fixing the narcissist, but through an unflinching gaze into the empath's own wounded self and a reclamation of the self they have so carelessly given away. The true hero's journey for the empath begins not with a grand battle, but with a quiet, profound act of withdrawal. It is the agonizing process of disentangling their identity from the narcissist's emotional demands and reclaiming the fragmented pieces of their own soul. This is not just a physical separation. It is an arduous and deeply spiritual act of severing the psychological cords that have bound them. It requires the empath to turn their powerful gaze inward to a place they have long neglected. They must finally confront their own shadow self, the wounded parts of them that were willing to dissolve their own being for the sake of another. They must ask themselves the difficult questions. Why was I so willing to be invisible? What emptiness within me was the narcissist's affection filling? Where did my own boundaries go? This period is marked by a raw, unvarnished grief, not just for the relationship, but for the loss of a self they once were. The empath must mourn the illusion, the potential they so desperately invested in, and the part of themselves that was sacrificed. This is the essential work of individuation, a process Carl Jung described as becoming the unique, integrated, and whole person you were meant to be. For the empath, this means learning to sit with their own emotions, to validate their own pain, and to finally become their own emotional anchor. The empath's core belief that they are responsible for others' feelings must be dismantled and replaced with a fierce commitment to their own well-being. Their deep empathy is not a flaw, but a powerful gift that must be protected with strong, clear boundaries. It is a sword they must learn to wield in their own defense, rather than a shield they use to absorb the pain of others. For the narcissist, their path is an entirely different kind of lonely. Without the supply of validation, the meticulously constructed persona begins to crumble. The whispers from the shadow self become a roar. The emptiness they have run from their entire life is now inescapable. This is not to say that every narcissist embarks on this journey. For many, the terror of confronting their true self is too great. They will simply seek out a new mirror, a new source of supply to rebuild their shattered sense of self. They remain trapped in their hollow hall of mirrors, forever looking for a reflection that can make them feel real. They are the eternal wanderers, souls without a true home, because their home is not within themselves. Their potential for growth is tied to a brutal and profound moment of surrender, an acceptance of their own flawed humanity, and a willingness to step out of the spotlight and into the difficult silent work of self-integration. The liberation of the empath, however, is a profound and beautiful transformation. Having faced their own shadow, they emerge with a new sense of power and clarity. Their empathy, once a liability, is now a source of deep wisdom. They can now connect with others from a place of wholeness, not of need. They understand that authentic connection is a two-way street, a mutual exchange of vulnerability, not a one-sided act of healing or sacrifice. The empath's journey teaches them that their deepest truth is not to save others, but to honor their own sacred inner world. The deep, resonant connection they longed for is finally found not in the hollow echo of the narcissist, but in the quiet, steady rhythm of their own heart. The culmination of the empath's journey is not a victory over the narcissist, but a profound and transformative inner integration. It is the moment they realize they no longer need to seek external validation to feel worthy or whole. They have, through their pain and their self-reflection, become their own source of unconditional acceptance. This is the ultimate act of self-love, a radical departure from the codependent patterns that once defined them. They are no longer a mirror for others, but a vessel for their own light. This newfound wholeness frees them to engage in the world in a completely new way. Their empathy, once a burden, is now a finely tuned instrument of compassion and understanding. They can now witness the struggles of others without feeling compelled to absorb them, to fix them, or to lose themselves in them. They have learned the sacred art of being present without being porous. This is the true meaning of the archetypal journey of individuation. The empath learns to individuate from the collective suffering they once identified with. They come to understand that their worth is not tied to their ability to heal the world, but to their courage to heal themselves. They realize that the greatest contribution they can make is to be a beacon of their own integrated truth, a living testament to the possibility of moving from fragmentation to wholeness. They learn to set boundaries not out of fear or anger, but out of a deep and abiding respect for their own sacred energy. These boundaries are not walls to keep people out, but a sacred perimeter that protects their inner sanctuary, allowing them to engage with the world from a place of strength, not of need. And what of the narcissist? Their fate is a tragic one, a cautionary tale of a soul who never learned to love themselves. They are forever in search of a mirror that can make them believe their own lie. They may move from one person to the next, one grand achievement to another, but the void within them remains. They are perpetually haunted by the shadow self they refuse to acknowledge, a part of them that whispers of their deep-seated shame and inadequacy. Their life is a performance with no end, a desperate attempt to outrun the truth of their own emptiness. Their path to redemption, should they ever choose to take it, requires a level of humility and vulnerability that for many is simply unthinkable. It is a path that demands the shattering of the ego persona, the very thing they have spent a lifetime building. Ultimately, the dance of the narcissist and the empath is not a personal drama, but a universal lesson. It is a profound exploration of what happens when we refuse to do our own inner work. The narcissist's hollow mirror is a stark reflection of a soul disconnected from its own truth. The empath's deepest truth is a powerful reminder that our capacity for love and connection is our greatest gift, but only when it is rooted in a fierce and unwavering love for ourselves. The relationship served as a painful, necessary crucible, a transformative fire that forced both archetypes to confront their ultimate choice: to remain in the illusion or to embark on the lonely, terrifying but ultimately liberating journey toward genuine wholeness. The individual who truly understands their depths extends that grace to the world.